everyone, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Alicia and this is my channel, Another Angle with Alicia. So today I am making a video about the 6-month review hearing for the Justice for Hazel case. Now if you're not familiar with this case, I do suggest that you look it up. You can find it on social media platforms, mostly Instagram and Facebook. It is an account of the mother's experiences, most of the information that is provided. However, there are 1 or 2 Instagram pages that do have information regarding the truth within the documents that has yet to be revealed by another party. Now, most of the information, again, that has been provided has been provided by the mother, and you will see the mother's angle in this eventually, in my opinion. However, to start off with this video, we're kind of going backwards into this case. This is the 6-month review hearing of the final order, which was entered in July of 2020. So that being said, I am giving you guys a brief synopsis of a live hearing that occurred on December 21st of 2020 in regards to the 6-month review for the Justice for Hazel case. Now, I'm going to give you some basics about the case. The mother's name is Alicia Adams. Now, Alicia Adams is the one that made the allegations against the father, a potential SA. I'm going to make that reference from now on, as opposed to going into detail about what that means. You can look it up for yourself, again, when you do the research in the case. And then also the father's name is Justin. Now, Justin is the one that has custody of Hazel. Now, Hazel is almost 6 years old at this point. When this case began, she was about 3.5, pushing 4, and it's obviously been quite some time since this started. So, again, today I am going backwards into the case, so if you find it a little bit confusing, I do encourage you to try to read any legal documents that are available online, whether provided by the mother or other sources, because they're essentially the same thing, to try to get a little bit more of a background in this case. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and discuss the motions presented by the mother, Alicia Adams, in the 6-month review. So Alicia initially filed a motion regarding the enforcement of her supervised visitation schedule, and this matter was heard on November 12th of 2020. No action was taken during this phone conference for some unknown reason. It was rescheduled to the original date that the 6-month review was to be heard, which was December 14th of 2020. So due to Alicia receiving new motions regarding the review hearing from the other party, she requested a continuance. The request was approved by the courts, and the 6-month review was scheduled for 12/21/2020. According to the affidavit submitted by Alicia Adams, which I did not receive until after the original video was made, Justin was somehow responsible for her inability to see Hazel. She informally requested that Justin be held in contempt. Alicia indicated that she had difficulty uploading the exhibits into her electronic response, so she then dropped off physical copies of the exhibits at her local courthouse, which she explained to the judge was, I believe, located in Apple Valley, if I'm not mistaken. But the judge indicated that was the incorrect location, and she had the task of attempting to retrieve the exhibits in order to make an accurate finding in the case. The affidavit also requested that the court acknowledge the color of law in regards to Alicia's current circumstances within the final order / alleged violation of the order. The color of law makes reference to an appearance of legal power to act that may operate in violation of the law. So essentially she's saying that this order is unconstitutional, and since she's brought it to the Court of Appeals, that essentially she doesn't acknowledge this order to be lawful or constitutional, therefore she essentially doesn't follow it. So again, the color of law makes reference to an appearance of legal power to act that may operate in violation of the law. So she's asking them to recognize that within her case. She's saying this to the judge that actually made the ruling, so imagine that. During the hearing, Alicia starts off by saying that Hazel should have never been taken from her care. The judge immediately interrupted her to explain that they were not relitigating the trial. She reminded Alicia, very nicely I might add, to remain focused on the events that occurred after the final order was delivered in July of 2020. Alicia argues that she has not gotten her visitation or video access to Hazel. The judge asks her if this is because Justin has done something to prevent contact, or is it because of the supervision centers refusing to work with her? Alicia's response was, "There is an obvious alignment in trying to keep my daughter away from me, but is unable to point to any facts or evidence to support her claims that Justin somehow has impeded her ability to see Hazel." Alicia stated that she had a friend reach out to Justin after the last hearing, the phone conference in regards to the parenting time, FaceTime, to coordinate video/phone contact with Hazel, and the friend was told allegedly by Justin that Alicia wants Hazel dead. Alicia also complained that she does not believe Hazel has been going to therapy as required. She believes Hazel has not seen a therapist since November of 2019. Now, let's try to recall the fact that the mother is not even 100% certain because she hasn't seen her in over 18 months. She's calling around to every facility that she could potentially, figure might have her daughter's information, or that the daughter might be enrolled in this school. So she just makes these guesses and is continually calling places to try to establish the fact that, yes, that's where her daughter goes or whatever. So that seems to be a continuous issue. But it says, so has Justin done something, or is it because the supervision centers refuse to work with her? There's an obvious alignment to keep my daughter away from me. Blah, blah, blah. I've done that already. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Alicia also complained that she doesn't believe that Hazel has been going to therapy, and that Hazel has not seen a therapist since 2019. So again, I'm sorry, I read that over and over again. But yes, just basically, those are assumptions of Alicia's because of the fact that she hasn't seen her for so long. There's no way of her knowing that. So Manson, who is the opposing party's attorney, Justin's attorney, points out that Alicia has not filed a motion to have Justin held in contempt of court. He also mentions that Alicia has put herself in a position where Traverse, which is one of the facilities that offers the intensive reunification therapy and supervised visitation for Alicia and Hazel, and FamilyWise, another like facility, won't help her. Traverse has stated the refusal was based off of Alicia's social media postings, as well as a failure to complete the correct psychological evaluation. Which they did request that she did a forensic psychological evaluation. According to Alicia, she didn't need to do that because it wasn't court ordered, therefore she refused to follow through with it, and Traverse failed to sign up with her because they refused to work with her because she's not listening. FamilyWise won't work with her due to her badgering of their staff, refusal to follow rules in combination with her social media postings. Manson contacted a third facility that offers intensive reunification therapy called Bridging and relayed the information to Alicia. He was unsure if Alicia reached out to the facility or not. Manson goes on to explain how no one in Justin's orbit wants to facilitate the calls between Alicia and Hazel because they do not want to be on the receiving end of threats and allegations of corruption. Due to the order of protection against Alicia, she legally cannot directly contact Justin to speak to Hazel. As a result, a third party is required to assist in the communication of Alicia and Hazel. So that being said, I did learn at the 6-month review hearing that Alicia's mother, Patricia, provided the information against Alicia for Minnesota State to press charges for a violation of the OFP third-party contact. Now, what's really funny about all of that is Alicia's attorney, Charles Crawford, decided to send me an affidavit after getting discovery and asking me to sign it, stating I was responsible for her violation of the OFP and a third-party contact, and wanted me to sign this and get it notarized and send it back to them. Now, I asked for a copy of the complaint based off the recommendation of attorney there in Minnesota, and they refused to provide it to me. And I thought it was awful strange. And so I see the 6-month review. I hear the fact that the mother, Patricia, who's responsible for this violation occurring, and yet the attorney is trying to get me to sign some sort of an affidavit. So after the hearing, I immediately emailed and contacted him, and he absolutely ignored me. So that just goes to show you right there that even the people that she's hiring to help her protect her from her violations are snaky as fuck. Sorry, I cussed. Snaky as fuck. Y'all didn't hear that. So that being said, the snaky, lying people trying to get me to sign stuff, it's her own mother that flipped on her and told the state, or told whoever pressed charges for the state. Judge O'Brien asked Mr. Manson if Justin has prevented contact between Alicia and Hazel. She expresses her hope to get Alicia to a place where she is having healthy communications with Hazel. Judge also clarifies that she is not promoting a modification of the order for protection between Justin and Alicia because she did not hear that case and is in no position to change the order from another court. Now, Manson explains that Justin had slowed down, then eventually stopped therapy due to an inability to afford the copay. The judge inquires about the possibility of reinstating Hazel's therapy and perhaps asking that therapist to facilitate calls between Hazel and Alicia while Hazel is at her sessions. This would allow monitoring and ensure Alicia doesn't say anything inappropriate to Hazel, and if she did, the therapist could disconnect the call immediately. Manson expresses that he believes it is a fine idea, but ultimately it would be up to the therapist if they're willing to facilitate those types of communications. Now, I'm sure a lot of people that have experience that are curious about this case would know that's going to be a really, really hard thing to find. I mean, therapists already have a lot of work they got to do with children that are in these positions, and trying to facilitate the call between a narcissistic mother who likes to interrogate her child who hasn't seen her in 18 months plus, that's going to be a tricky one. All right, some communications. So, essentially, I don't feel like much came of Alicia's motions. She did ask for some things, but it was kind of in an indirect fashion, and didn't really ask the judge to, like, do much other than indirectly hold Justin in contempt. But, again, if there's not sufficient evidence to meet the burden of proof, as it were, and that's that word that I keep butchering, then it's not going to go through. So it seems the judge did not approve any request to hold Justin in contempt based off of the information she was able to see. It seems she was not going to make that ruling at all. Let's see. Okay, so now we're going on to Justin's motions. He's got multiple of them, so bear with me. This might be a little lengthy. So number one is just to suspend Alicia's rights under Appendix A. Remove her access to Hazel's medical and school records. Now, of course, this would always be a last resort. The judge is going to try anything and everything, which she has, to try to prevent that from happening. And so if it does, that is just based off of Alicia's actions and nothing more, due to the fact that she has tried everything to assist in facilitating this relationship between her daughter and her. So Manson argues that what Alicia is doing with the information she obtains is endangering Hazel. She is posting pictures from from Hazel's school alleging SA. I'm not going to get into the details. Please feel free to look up the details yourself, according to the mother's posts. Telling the school Justin is Hazel and suggesting this school is complicit in these actions. This is bad for both Hazel and the school faculty, obviously. This is not a good situation. Something needs to happen. So Manson alleges that Hazel's medical records are posted online, and Alicia has shown that she does not have the desire or ability to stop these actions of her own accord. Suspension of her right to access the information is the only way to protect Hazel from her mother's conduct. He then cites statute 518.17 sub 3, which says that the court shall grant certain rights. Access to information is one to each party unless specific findings are made under Minnesota statute 518.68 sub 1, which states that the right can be restricted if necessary to protect the welfare of a party or the child, which obviously, of course, Justin's reputation and situation is of concern, but Hazel is the number one person that we are concerned about, right? That's why we're all here. So Alicia responds that the records she's received were questionable and they validate her fears. She argues that Justin doesn't want her to access the records because then she will find out what he's doing to Hazel. She told the judge that she posted the records, including the expert's report and family-wise reports, and says, "I have to maintain a steadfast fight so that my daughter's voice is heard." The judge tells Alicia, "You are doing things that are harming your daughter." She advises Alicia to truly read the final order delivered in July 2020. Now, anybody that is familiar with this case knows that this case has been brought to the Court of Appeals locally in Minnesota State based off of the mother's motions. Now, that doesn't mean that just because it got accepted that it has some basis. That's a common misconception being spread around the internet. However, it has been brought to the Court of Appeals. So, this is the judge's way of kind of making Alicia acknowledge that despite the fact that she is appealing the order, despite the fact she doesn't agree with the order, that doesn't mean she doesn't have to follow the order. Okay, so the judge tells Alicia, "You are doing things that are harming your daughter." She advises she truly reads the order from July. The judge emphasizes that she did not find Alicia's claims of abuse by Justin against Hazel were corroborated. There was emails that was sent to Hazel's new school by the mother stating that her claims and findings were corroborated at trial and that the school is complicit by not acknowledging these things in the continued abuse of her daughter. She continues by saying, "A neighbor came to your door," the judge that is. "A neighbor came to your door after finding Hazel outside and you were asleep on your couch." Alicia interrupts and says, "I wasn't on the couch." Judge O'Brien continues, "The allegations in the police report is that you were under the influence of a controlled substance and unable to care for your daughter." Doesn't matter where you were doing it at, you were doing it, and that was the whole point. Alicia continues to interrupt the judge, and the judge tells her to stop. The judge suggests she uses a pen and paper and write down her questions, and when it is her turn, she may discuss it. Judge O'Brien goes on to say that Justin told Alicia he was going to do something about this because he didn't feel Hazel was safe. Although the judge did state that the very next day this occurred, it was actually 2 days later that Alicia claimed that Justin abused Hazel. Despite the minor discrepancy of dates, Alicia responds, "The very next day my daughter told me she was bleeding from her vagina." Judge responds, "That story has morphed and changed several times, Miss Adams. I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm trying to give you what the court's basis was for the order. I recognize that you and I will never agree on this, but bottom line, it wasn't corroborated, and this court has asked you on several occasions to stop talking to your daughter about it." It was heated, you guys. I'm not going to lie. My jaw was on the floor half the time, and I had to keep double checking the phone to make sure it was muted because I was afraid that I was hollering so loud that I was going to interrupt the hearing. I'm not going to lie. And I'm pretty sure there are some of you that were watching as well that had the same experience. Please comment below if that's the case because I want to see if I'm the only one that was yelling at the phone and then thought, "Oh, what if they can hear me? Oh my gosh, I don't want to interrupt." But it's just so much. It's just the more you know about this case and you hear the misinformation, it is very alarming. The judge then prompts Alicia to talk about her social media posts, and in response to Alicia, she asks, "How do you feel like your posting isn't harming your daughter?" Alicia's response, "My fight and advocacy for Hazel's safe return home to me and out of an abusive situation will be maintained, and everything my daughter told me was in confidence." Judge redirects her to discuss topics that occurred after July 2020, a constant redirection, after delivery of the final order. Alicia continues to argue, "It's many pieces of paper, it's many records to show there is evidence against Justin." Then Alicia starts talking about how Justin is talking to strangers online and giving them information. Again, I apologize if I digress and interject. I'm just going to say that I find it very odd that she's the one that brought this to social media. Yet, if information was being obtained from other people by the other party, then why would there be a problem? You're the one that brought this to the internet. You're the one that wanted this to be public. So then all of a sudden the public gets involved and it's a big problem. That makes absolutely no sense. Alicia says she redacts information. I'm going to interject again only because of the violations of the OFP or the OFP being put in place. Then you stopped, you know, putting all that information out there. Before that, there was no redaction. And then goes on about a woman on YouTube offering to share their legal documents and this Zoom hearing link this morning. Claims all of the above came directly from Justin and that she has exhibits to prove it. She also claims people are baiting her into breaking orders. Now, again, if I interject repetitively, I apologize, because I do want to keep this as factual as possible, but it's also a fact that my opinion is involved in parts of these. This is making reference to me. I am the person that possesses the legal documents that will give them to people because the person that has given them to me has given me permission. And although she keeps saying that it is Justin, it's not Justin. It's somebody that has been given permission by Justin to share these things, and therefore they have shared it with me. So it's like an indirect, you know. But according to her, I'm a pedophile enabler because of the fact that I'm listening to all sides of the story. If you question her, you will be attacked, you will be defamed, you will be doxxed, you will be threatened. Anything and everything you can think of, it will happen to you. All right. Sorry, guys. I lose my spot and I digress. She's got exhibits to prove it in bait. Yeah, so she's just never taking accountability for her actions. She's always blaming everybody else. And, you know, again, anybody that opposes her is automatically a bad person doing bad things. I've been accused of being paid to be opposition, unplanted opposition, as well as I'm being paid by the people that are in charge of the human trafficking to keep her from her daughter. I'm paid to do a misinformation campaign based off legal documents that I had nothing to do with to keep her from her daughter. I'm being paid by human traffickers. I won't even get into that aspect. It's a whole nother digression, you guys. So moving on from there. Justin's motion number 2. Request to find Alicia in constructive civil contempt for failure to comply with the court's order to keep certain evidence sealed. Manson said that, I'm going to call this person JC, signed an affidavit swearing that Alicia played sealed videos for her. And when JC asked, aren't these sealed? Alicia's answer was, we'll just say that you're my private investigator. Indications that Alicia also shared sealed videos / documents with a private investigator named Mark Gillespie are present. Gillespie and his team are not only not licensed to work in Minnesota, but they are also actively investigating all persons involved in Alicia's case, including her GAL, the judge, Mr. Manson, the opposing party's attorney, and Justin, the father. Now, they've also made slanderous accusations against me after inviting me to be a part of their team, taking about 500 hours of my digital forensic work, which I did on her case, and using it for their own benefit and then giving me the boot. Then they wrote statements about me claiming they were criminal complaints and allowed Alicia to spread them around as misinformation about me. That's also going to get addressed and handled as well, so don't think that it won't. Moving on, let's see. Alicia's response is that it is traumatizing for her to listen to or watch the sealed videos alone, and that she needed support while viewing them, so that she FaceTimed JC for support. I needed to watch the videos and I didn't want to do it alone. It's unfair to expect me to do this alone. There's no reason for her to be watching the sealed videos. It has nothing to do with her appeal, even though she lies and says that it does. Again, that's a whole nother digression. I will get a little bit into that right now. The reason that this woman is representing herself in the Court of Appeals is so that she could have access herself directly, personally, to the sealed evidence within the case from the trial. And she's taking it and using it for the wrong reasons. Not only is she giving it to an investigator who is using it for their own selfish purposes to build their own name, but also this information has been used on Instagram so that she can post videos for her followers so they feel sorry for her and decide to donate to her GoFundMe so that she can survive. We're going to get into all that towards the end of the video, so just hang tight. All right, moving on. Alicia's response. Oh, I did that again. I'm sorry. I'm just moving on from there. Judge raises the issue that Justin is struggling to pay the co-pays for Hazel's therapy and asks Alicia if she would be willing to set aside money from her GoFundMe donations to help with the costs, since she does agree Hazel's therapy is so important. Now, Alicia hesitates before saying $12,000 of the alleged $17,000 she has raised through the GoFundMe has been spent on pet food, etc. Alicia then suggests that if she asked her parents to help pay the copay, that she is sure they would contribute. This is the family that the mother and stepfather are millionaires that pay for her living expenses, yet they financially abuse her, according to Alicia. The judge asks her, if you had to choose between Hazel's therapy and pet food, what would your priority be? Alicia laughs in response that her pets need to be fed. And she did say that, my pets need to be fed, Your Honor. Again, my personal opinion, I do my best to refrain unless it's relevant to what we're discussing. So I'm just going to... Justin's motion number 3. Order Alicia to remove all social media postings about and sexual assault essay of Hazel, sorry guys, and prohibit any future post. Now, Manson cites in reference to GESKE versus Marcolina, it's Marcolina, for precedent that Minnesota courts have concluded the interests of a child are sufficient to infringe on a person's First Amendment rights. It's a big one, you guys, because courts don't like to get involved in that kind of stuff when it comes to our constitutional rights, when it comes to some stuff, you know, but not all stuff. So Alicia argues that she should be able to post whatever she wants as well as say whatever she wants. The judge asked Alicia, you believe it is in your child's best interest to put out there on the internet that your child is being... Alicia's response was yes. Justin's motion number 4, Alicia should be ordered to pay child support. She should contribute to her daughter's financial well-being on a daily, especially with a 4-bedroom house that she lives in for free in Farmington, Minnesota. And I think it's like a Mazda something or another. It doesn't matter. It's a brand new car, a 2019 that has tabs paid for, the maintenance paid for, the winterization, new tires, oil change, you name it. She just has to take it into the place and drop it off. Everything essentially is paid for with the exception of her internet, her phone bill, feeding her face, feeding her animals, her weed, her Botox, her Ipsy, her, again, digressing. I'm not going to get into all of that. That's another video. We'll do like, we'll do a couple of videos per video. How about that? We can do the actual video when it comes to the legal documentation and the court proceedings. Then we could do another one that discusses the aspects and our own personal opinions and experiences with the matter and make that sort of like the little gossip column, because that's necessary. We need to, you know, share ideas in order for us to get to the bottom of certain things. And this is one of those cases that the more is discussed, the more comes to light. So let's keep it up, guys. Everybody's been contributing amazing, and whew, it's making a big difference. So the child support. Alicia says she has applied for disability and doesn't know if she will have to appeal her claim again. However, Alicia failed to mention that she has already been denied one time. She was very vague about that fact. I do not know how I could earn income with my PTSD diagnosis and my schedule. Alicia specifically stated she has PTSD from being denied access to Hazel within the court documents versus her claims online that she has PTSD from Hazel being raped. Now, most recently on 1/3/21, Alicia posted on Instagram a video stating that she had PTSD from the 5 years of domestic abuse she endured from Justin. Of course, her story keeps morphing and changing. This is a perfect example of that. So if you want to know what the judge is talking about, this is one of those instances. Court informs Alicia that even if she isn't working, the court can impute her wages. This means that the court can order support based on what a woman her age would be making if she was working full-time. Discussion about Alicia's medications and if she's been keeping up with her court-ordered counseling came up, as well as her psychiatrist appointments. Alicia announces that she is pregnant. Let's talk about that. She's almost 7 months pregnant, you guys. No dad, on purpose. State of Minnesota automatically grants custodial guardianship to the mother if no father has married her or is listed on the birth certificate. So she set that one up on purpose, y'all. She already wanted another baby. All that she wants is another baby. Sorry. Alright, so Alicia announces that she's pregnant, says that she's been taking only the medication she's allowed to during pregnancy. She also claims that she has maintained weekly appointments for therapy and regular psych appointments. Now, you guys, she's got a certain type of therapy. I don't know if it was the DBT or whatever else she was ordered, but she told me specifically that she has not had appointments since COVID because these are in-person appointments only. So I'm assuming it's the dialectical behavioral therapy. I always say that weird, the DBT, but I could be mistaken, and I will look back at that after I'm done with this video. So Alicia claims to no longer be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Now, this is a diagnosis that's been maintained throughout her existence, pretty much her whole life. I'm assuming since she was a teenager and she started having all the issues where she ended up in, rehab and things of that nature. She was obviously self-medicating and having promiscuous behavior and all that at a very young age. And so that as a result was part of the diagnosis of her borderline personality disorder. She also has a great fear of abandonment. It's something she talks about on a constant basis, although she burns the bridges and pushes people away and still can't figure out what's going on. It's actually really sad. I feel like that somewhere deep down there's a very loving, great, funny type human being, but something has just taken over that is completely evil and disgusting and has rotted her away from the inside out. And again, this is just my personal experience, my personal opinion. All right, so court ponders whether Hazel's potential new therapist can field the calls between Alicia and Hazel. The court directs the parties to continue looking for centers that offer the intensive reunification therapy that was suggested to them to engage in, and the supervised visitation for Hazel and Alicia. Now, judge indicates that she is not inclined to change the restrictions on Alicia's parenting time being strictly monitored, as well as she cannot order Justin to answer the phone calls from Alicia due to the order for protection between them. So the court also indicates that she has no authority over places like FamilyWise, and they do not have to follow her orders. If they choose to not work with Alicia, the judge cannot force them to, contrary to Alicia's misconceptions about the fact. Now, Judge O'Brien then tells Alicia, you are the person that is getting in your own way in these situations. The court can only do so much to facilitate a healthy relationship between you and your daughter. You are really, really not working with anyone. You are really just doing what you want to, and it is not helping you. The court can't do any more than what I've already done in a previous order. You've had an opportunity to show that you can have a healthy relationship with your daughter, but you haven't done that. You are cutting off your nose to spite your face. There are things you could do, but you choose not to. So the judge was very, very clear about the fact that she has repetitively given her chance after chance, opportunity after opportunity to do the right thing, and that this person should want to, with as much as she is adamant about seeing her daughter again and about, making sure that she's okay. But in order to obtain that privilege, you have to show and prove. You have to demonstrate the ability, the willingness, and the desire to do whatever it takes to keep that child in your life. Despite your beliefs, despite your advocacy for the child, you can do all of that without all of the damage that is being caused with certain actions. This is, again, partially just my own opinion. So,
Alicia argues back, alleging that family-wise screwed up and the other facilities aren't able to work with her for whatever reason, and this is everyone else's fault except hers, and it's not a good reason to keep her from Hazel. The judge says, "We are really in a tough spot for you having any interactions with your daughter." Manson has met the prima facie showing of contempt, and the court has scheduled a hearing on January 20th, 2021 regarding the sealed videos Alicia has shown JC. Also, this is a side note. This is something that was recently discovered by me as well. I've had to remake this video of the remake multiple occasions because of finding new information. Now, from the start of this case, the people that are speculatory of what the initial incidences were that caused this to pop off, there's been a missing piece of the puzzle for quite some time. Recently, I had text sent to me by Alicia Adams' old best friend. These messages indicated that on the night of September 8th, the day previous to Hazel getting out alone at the age of 3.5 and the police responding, Alicia was up until all hours of the night on the night of September 8th with a random 45-year-old male local actor, and he stayed and kept her up all night. We won't get into the details because we're trying to keep this PG. But she was very, very open about what was happening during that time that she was there, or that he was there. So that being said, Alicia stays up until approximately 4 a.m. on September 9th. September 9th, 6 a.m., Hazel wakes up. Alicia makes her toast, puts on cartoons, puts her in Alicia's bed, and then falls back asleep. Now, I'm assuming that Hazel, being the most responsible little angel she is, probably heard Sachi, her old dog, crying to go outside. Since her mother was sleeping, she probably decided, I'm going to help my mommy. I can tell she's been going through a hard time because she just went through a breakup, remember? I am almost certain this little girl just thought she wanted to help her mom out, throw on some slippers, grab the dog, put her on a leash, opened the front door, and went out. Yeah, it could happen to anybody, but then again, I've raised 4 children at once and had to monitor all those little badasses, and I never had one kid escape out the front door without my knowledge. I'm sorry. It's just hard for me to come to grips with. So the truth is that within these text messages, it is revealed that Alicia was up at all hours of the night being intimate with a stranger who was also present in the home with her daughter there, the two of them alone. So who knows if something ever happened at the hands of another man to Hazel during one of her mother's escapades. It seems this is a common thing that her mother engages in. So again, that being said, these messages have revealed the missing time lapse between the initial issue with the child getting out and then 2 days later the initial allegations of SA against the father by the mother in regards to the child. The father did say, I am going to do something about this because I don't feel my daughter is safe. So after staying up all night partying, having fun, her daughter escapes, the police come, she thinks it's funny, she's sending text messages laughing, joking, ha ha, my daughter got out. Not realizing all along that she thought this was going to save her from neglect charges or losing custody of her daughter. It's not going to save it. You're never going to see her again as a result, Alicia. Unfortunately, this is terrible. I am heartbroken to find out that this whole thing was spurred by your neglect. And it goes even deeper. And that's why I'm going to do one on the experts report, the final report, and also the initial incident report and investigation of the initial allegations of SA against Justa. That being said, again, I apologize if I digress. I try to stay on track with these particular ones discussing hearings or whatever, although these are my first couple of videos. All right, the other thing that I want to discuss with everyone, because this seems to be a point of contention where people who go back and forth, the naysayers and the not, don't understand this simple fact. The Gofundme that was established by Alicia is in fact her second GoFundMe. So the first one raised almost $3,000. Maybe a month or two after, another one was opened, and this one has raised over $18,000. Now, those are just the GoFundMes. That is not the Venmo, the PayPal, the Cash App, the Cash, the gifts, or anything else that this woman has received as a result of exploiting her daughter in this instance. So that being said, let's discuss the GoFundMe a little bit. So the current account, like I said, has raised over $18,080, and it was created by Alicia on 7/20/2020. The first GoFundMe account was created by a Chloe Osborne and Alicia Adams, and that one raised $2,760. Now, I'm going to go through just what I am aware of she has received. That's not even verifying any other money that's been, received by other people, but from Venmo, I personally sent $160. Cash App, I sent $60. Never anything through PayPal. Cash, I gave her $500 cash on 10/13/2020 to give to her attorneys. And also I am aware of the fact that her friend Ryan, aka Rainbow, gave her $750 cash on 10/10/2020. The total amount plus $450 for transcripts and a $50 fee that somebody else submitted as a receipt of payment to Alicia, the total that I'm 100% certain of that she has received so far is $22,810. Now, that being said, we're going to move on to what these funds have been allocated for. They have been spent on criminal defense mostly. If you look at the allocation of funds that Alicia printed out herself and posted on her Instagram page, it states that $8,300 was paid to Michelle McDonald for the original HRO and OFP applications of the other parties. Now, at this point, her new lawyers, Derek Thuft and Charles Crawford, have been paid so far a total of $6,200 for a violation of the OFP and HRO defense. Total spent to this date strictly on criminal defense is $14,500. And then let's not forget to add the $450 for the transcripts that she claims that she bought. Now let's go into detail about why this is considered fraudulent in the eyes of people who have donated who were unaware of what this money was being used for. Her GoFundMe blurb says, the things I need help paying for are as follows: consultations with legal professionals, court fees to bring to or respond to motions, to bring motions or respond to motions. Any future legal bills I may acquire upon representation if I can't find a sliding scale or pro bono lawyer, which she actually did not really bother doing. Now, literature about my situation and others like me, not really sure what that means, why you need money for that. Ink for printing off and having tangible copies of the case and to research and go through myself. She states she's gone through so much ink. So under where it lists what you're helping her pay for, she starts describing her perception of her parents financially abusing her, which is very strange. What a strange place to put it when it starts talking about what you're helping her pay for and not why. She starts to discuss the abandonment of her parents against her and waiting for her disability to come into fruition. I'm assuming she's seeking sympathy. I'm not really sure why else she would bring that back up. Also about how her mother's flex of control was finally to fire Alicia's attorney. Her parents spent well over $150,000 in a year and a half for defense in this case for her regarding her daughter, minus the living expenses. Now, her parents had bought her a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, brand new car, gave her a grocery card that she could live off of, were paying her phone bill, internet, blah, 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 going on and on and on. She deems this as financial abuse when they decide to retract their help based off of her treatment towards them and the way that she has attempted to expose them to the public for things that are not happening. Ultimately, contrary to Alicia's recent posts over the past few weeks, she'll most likely not be seeing Hazel anytime soon, and Hazel is not coming home. Nothing Alicia argued would warrant a change of the original final order dated 7/27/20. Despite her Court of Appeals case, this doesn't appear to be a case where the judge was unfair or corrupt. Therefore, it will most likely have no effect on her appellate court case. Alicia appears to have made a significant step backwards in her fight for Hazel, in my opinion. Again, I try to be very specific if I'm saying something that is just my opinion. Not to say it doesn't have any basis at all, but... also, I just wanted to mention that by law, the judge has 90 days to produce an order on the motions. However, at this point in Alicia's case, it doesn't seem it warrants such an extensive waiting period before a final decision will be made. Meanwhile, Alicia does have a contempt of court hearing on January 20th of 2021. She also has her pre-trial for her OFP violation between her and Justin on February 18th of 2021. Now, I do also want to discuss, since the fact that she's got all of these criminal charges pending and violations, etc., Alicia still has an outstanding warrant for her arrest in Washington County, Minnesota. The warrant number is 120-902-207, and this was issued on 9/15/2020. For violation of her harassment restraining order. She also has an unfulfilled booking order issued from Dakota County on October 13th, 2020. The case number for this is 19AV-CR-20-776. Her lawyers on all of the above matters are Charles Crawford of River Birch Legal PLLC and Derek Thute Criminal Law. They're both located in the area of like Minnetonka. And then also I did want to briefly discuss in closing of this case why she's pro se in her appellate court case. She claims that it's because an appellate court lawyer, a family lawyer, is going to cost her $30,000 to $50,000. That is completely inaccurate. I have personally spoke with a family law attorney out of Dakota County who stated that she would not charge someone in Alicia's position with the facts of her case more than $7,000 to $10,000 for a complete appellate court defense. Period. So there is no $30,000 or $50,000 amount that she would need in order to have an appellate attorney. So knowing Alicia and personally experiencing her in her own world and the things that she says openly, I am now aware of the fact that two reasons that she wanted to represent herself in the appellate court system. Number one is that as a pro se litigant, she can access these sealed documents. Now, what she's done with them is post them on social media or use them for her other selfish purposes of gaining to actually exploiting her daughter to gain something out of it. So there's that. She has access to the sealed materials. If you look on her page, there is actually one video that's a black and white video where she's trying to get Hazel to talk about satanic ritual abuse. That one is a sealed video as well, so that has been documented that it is on her page illegally and she's being held accountable for that. Now, the second fact is this: Alicia believes that she is going to be led in a crusade by her old attorney, Michelle McDonald, and that 4 or 5 women who have been discriminated against by the corrupt Dakota County, I'm not saying it's not corrupt, I'm just saying Alicia's case in my eyes doesn't warrant that description, that they were going to file a class action lawsuit for discrimination against the county and therefore get financial benefit from losing the appeal. So there are many reasons that she's chosen to go this route, whether it's clear to other people or not. I have heard it directly out of her mouth, her intentions, her thoughts, and why she's not concerned if she loses the appeal. But in closing, I did want to add that there was discussion regarding a video that Alicia is now stating has not been delivered or exchanged for whatever reason to her daughter. But the Christmas video, at the end of the hearing, Alicia asked the judge if she can say Merry Christmas to Hazel this year. Manson defers to Justin, and Justin suggests that Alicia can record a video message and send it to Manson, who will then send it to Justin. He will play the video for Hazel and record a video of Hazel to send back to Alicia. Alicia shakes her head no vigorously and does not agree with the idea. She begins to claim Justin will engage in trauma bonding and might not play the video for Hazel, and will script back what Hazel has to say to her. Alicia then demands that she be allowed to look her child in the eye and see her reaction when her mom says, "Merry Christmas." The judge says the video exchange is a beautiful idea, suggests maybe the message could be coordinated with one of the grandmother's FaceTimes, which would be in reference to Patricia Burden, which is Alicia Adams' mother. She has FaceTimes with Hazel on occasion, and the judge was hoping potentially that could be kind of squeezed in there to have like a mediator, third party of someone who knows Hazel and loves her to make sure that the message was delivered. And that maybe she could play the message. The judge ultimately denied Alicia's request for the direct FaceTime between her and Hazel. Alicia is now stating the video was never delivered, but at the same time, her mother was supposed to be coming for visitation, and some reason she canceled her trip last minute, so therefore she wasn't available, even if it was okay to facilitate the exchange of the videos. And so therefore, according to Alicia, it didn't happen. She also stated, from my understanding, that it was to be delivered to Justin, but I think she maybe sent it directly to him as opposed to through Manson. I'm not 100% clear on that. That part is partially speculation, although I did gain some information and insight into what happened as a result of why they were unable to exchange videos. So, long story short, none of this went the direction that Alicia was insinuating that it would. None of this is going to bring Hazel back home. In fact, Alicia has really backpedaled in her case, in her position. She really should have made some sort of a headway in showing that she was a stable, loving mother who thought of her child's well-being above her own. Putting this type of thing on social media is really opening the door to a bunch of things that I do not think are going to help anyone, and it's really, really hard to retract the damage and the information that has already been spread. So as a result, I just want to say this is really important, that all sides of the truth come out, that we take the time to analyze all aspects of the truth. I do understand that legal documentation is not the full basis for the truth. However, I feel it plays a big significant part, especially within this case, and I will demonstrate that with the videos that I have in the future based off of the, again, experts report, the final order, as well as the original incident report where the investigation occurred for the initial allegations. So a long investigation did occur. Alicia occasionally says it never did, and this is where her inconsistencies make it very confusing for people who are trying to catch up with the facts of the case. So I basically said everything I feel like I have to say at this point. I am going to make another video soon. I thank you very much for tuning in. For all of you that are rewatching my remake, thank you. I appreciate it. The first one was really with a rush on it, just because I wanted to make sure to get the information out to all the people that were waiting, maybe even the people that viewed it. But please leave some comments down below of things you want to discuss in the next video or questions you have about this one. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in, and I hope everyone has a good night.